rivalry as far as almost being like funny, or just trying to take out the
Yeah.
other new guy. They'll still have more fun. One thing also that you mentioned about something as simple as a reroll in King of Tokyo is if you teach somebody like the whole reroll mechanic when they play something else that's bigger and maybe they have a chance to get an item that allows a reroll. Now they
Mm.
understand how important an actual reroll is, even if it's on a single die, to where like, man, I've rolled this thing, I'm gonna re-roll this one die that wasn't a hit. Bam, I get a hit, and we beat the scenario. You know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
it's interesting the type of game mechanics that you would teach someone going from one thing to the next that would be so important that now they already grasp the general concept of. I think that's really important.
Right.
Exactly.
Well said. Corey, you have anything else you want to drop?
No, I'm looking forward to. We're going to be hosting hopefully next week. Doug, your wife,
Yep.
and the friend that we mentioned will be coming over next week, and we'll see how this works.
Awesome. Chris,
Yeah, I
you
think
want to
it's
go?
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
jump in real quick. I think it's really like if you care about like broadening your player base, you definitely want to take the time, like Corey said, take the time and think about what you're going to introduce these people to. Like you don't want to break them in. Hey, we're playing Twilight Imperium this weekend. If you want to play board games, you should really come check this out. Like you don't want to have something that's going to overwhelm them or not. And I think by you taking the time and thinking about, okay, what would they like to play? What kind of games do you think they would be into? And planning that strategically on what they should play, I think that's really good to help you increase who's going to play your games with forever. If you brought them into something really scary, they might not, like you said, they might not have fun. And thanks, but I'm busy. So
Yeah, well said.
And
I
you know
think that's
what?
really awesome. Yeah.
And you know what? It's crazy that you even bring that up on that level because no one does that. I'm gonna say there's not a lot of people who are even willing to put in the time to get people interested who aren't already, which is why it's such a small player base anyway, and such a tight knit player base. A tight knit group of people who like these things. But then now you have a guy like Corey who is putting in a lot of thought and work in order to branch out to get new people into different games. I'm there to hang out anyway. Like I'm totally coming to hang out, so you could throw anything at me. I wouldn't really care. But not everybody's like that. Somebody would rather go watch, Arrow or something like that versus come over and play games, and it'll always be that way. But you putting in the work really makes a huge difference. That's actually really huge.
Yeah, and
It's
and
cool.
one more thing I remembered. My wife Andrea, she didn't know anything about games when we first met. And she was willing to learn. And I started from the bare bones, and I built my collection. I looked on Kickstarter. I did a lot of research of like what are good two-player games, what are good intro type games. So all that information's out there. I know she loves animals, so I got this game called Mice and Mystics, where it's a dungeon crawler where you're mice, and like it, she loved it. And now we're playing games like Gloomhaven, where we're 150 hours in, and she can't wait to play, and we do our own playthroughs. So it can be achievable if you do it the right way.
That's huge. Chris, you want to go next? You want me to go next?
You can do it. Do it up.
Okay, so my topic here to get somebody into a hobby that I'm into is actually virtual reality, which I'll be saying VR from here on out. The one major thing about VR is the initial cost of entry to have a good VR experience. Now, VR also, you have to probably enjoy video games in order to enjoy VR. But I've showed people who don't play games some VR stuff, and they were like, man, that's really cool. And this is more like the experiences. But back to the cost, the initial cost of VR was first a computer, whether it's mid-range or, high range. And that's if you built it yourself or not. So that's anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000. $3,000 being like a high-end manufactured computer, versus maybe like between $2,000 and $2,300 for something that you build yourself to get a really good system. So you're already at max $3,000 in, or even if you did 1,700, what whatever. You want to have a decent experience because VR is very hardware intensive. So if you don't have a great system, you won't be able to crank it up. It won't look as good. It won't run smooth, and you're going to be like, man, I bought all this for VR, and my VR sucks. Not what you want to do. So you want to save. You want to put the amount of money in that you really, really, if that's what you're going for, like a VR rig. Like I have a VR rig. I had that in mind when I built it. I wanted a beast gaming computer anyway, but I'm like, my VR's setup has to be super legit. Then you have the headsets. So when I bought my Oculus Rift, it was $600. That came with the headset and a sensor, and it comes with a Xbox One controller, which is all you needed to start. Really, was that. But then you could have also bought the Vive at the time, which was $800. Right? That's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. But in perspective, though, so it's a lot of money, but it isn't.
That's a month of rent.
It is, but it isn't, right?
People.
It is. But for most people to tell them $800, that's a ton of money to talk about. The Vive came with, the wands, the controllers, and the Oculus at the time didn't. They didn't come out till months down the line, and they ended up being $200 anyway. So now the cost is about even. But, you're talking a difference between a VR situation where you're basically sitting in a chair playing VR games versus walking around your room. That's where that $200 went to, which was huge. But I stuck with Oculus because I liked the headset better. I tried it at PAX, I tried Nix, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with the Oculus, and I'll wait for their controllers. So then now you have this setup where you have controllers, you have a headset, and it's great. If you think about VR and the cost, though, and you try someone's Oculus Rift first, and you see how great it is, there's no way you thought, as a person in any entertainment business, say, you went to Great Adventure, you tried virtual reality stuff there, you went to the Science Center, you tried it there, that you were going to get VR in your house for under $1,000. Right. Corey is the person who actually told me this. He was on the... we were texting the release date because I actually went into work late to make sure I could pre-order mine. He said, did you really think you were going to get VR for under $1,000? And I was like, you know what? Definitely didn't. And that really solidified my purchase for sure. Because if you play Oculus Rift, you play something like Robo Recall, Elite Dangerous, easily you could spend, $1,500 on something like that because it really is that good. It's great. Then you have the different type of experiences that you can have and show people. So I have a very strict regimen when somebody wants to try my VR stuff out that I show them. The first thing is just stuff where they can stand up and look around at things. Nothing is moving. Like the environment might be moving, but you as the character, you don't move, you don't do anything, you don't touch anything. The first one on Oculus Rift is called Dream Deck. Basically, there's a couple different scenes. One of them is like an alien. And I do that one first because you want to see how freaked out somebody gets of something even being close to them. It's not scary. It's very cartoony. So you'd be surprised at how many people I've showed just this to. It loads into the screen and there's an alien standing in front of them and they're like, oh my god, there's something here. And it's a cartoony environment, you know what I mean? And it's interesting because it's something that no one's ever experienced before, where they can look around in a game in a full 360 thing and be in a completely other environment and hear me talking to them and they can't see me. So then after that, I'm like, all right, we're going to test their fear a little bit more. We're going to see how they react. And I show them the dinosaur, right? The dinosaur is next. So a T-Rex comes from down a hallway and he gets right up in your face. And I mean, like, at first he actually roars, which isn't even scary. But then he puts his nose like maybe like 6 inches from your face and is looking in your eyes. So that one, people, if they can't handle that, you really got to tailor what comes next to them. They can't really be playing action games where stuff is jumping at them. They just go into full panic. They end up holding their controllers over their face like this, and you can tell they're not having a lot of fun. Next is the skyscraper. Now, some people are just afraid of heights anyway, but it's something to test somebody's resolve and if they're able to understand that they're safe in VR. This is where you find out if someone is safe at, like, what's their safe zone, and do they feel like they can actually fall off this thing, even with my hand on their chest and they're in my room. You know what I mean? So you show them the skyscraper that they're standing on top of it. You try to get them to lean forward and kind of face their fear of it a little bit. And usually people cop out there. Some people are totally cool with it because they think they can fall off, but they actually can't. So then after that is when you go into different type of, it's called locomotion, and this is different types of movement. It's very easy to get sick in VR from having a classic first-person shooter style movement where you hold forward on a stick and you slide forward, with VR, because you're standing up and you're in this game world. It's fully 3D. You're not looking at a flat screen. So the disconnect between your brain and what's happening with your eyes can be instant nausea, instant sickness.
That's me.
Yeah.
That is me.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's instant. I'm done with this. I can't do it. Which for me to show somebody who's interested in it or wants to try it is not necessarily a bad thing, because then they know maybe I shouldn't buy this. You know what I mean? I don't want to waste money on it. Like, that's why Jermaine doesn't have it. That's why a couple people I know haven't sprung for it, because they get sick. And then after that, as far as locomotion goes, is when you start trying to do maybe something with driving. I have a wheel set up. Driving, flying around. This is a little bit more tactile, so they don't notice it so much on their stomach, where you feel the wheel shaking and you have a pedal like you're driving a car or you're piloting on Elite Dangerous. I have a full flight stick with a throttle, so even though you're moving forward, you still have a tactile feeling of this controller and everything that's going on in the ship. It kind of offsets it a little bit. One guy had to play Elite. We were in space and he's like, which way is up? And I'm like, there is no up, dude. You're in space. And immediately it flipped his switch. He was like, oh yeah, so I don't have to feel sick from being upside down. You know what I mean? Because initially he was scared he's gonna get sick from being upside down. And then another thing that's important. Say now say now you're sold. Okay, you've got a headset, you've got controllers, games, right? Because games still cost money. You're buying games. Do not pay full price for VR stuff you are interested in ever without reading a ton of reviews. I don't care who made it. I don't care how excited you are. I don't care about the hype for it. I don't care what anyone says. It's going to be the most amazing game of all time. It's 100 hours of gameplay. Who cares? Do not ever pre-order. Although they do offer some pre-order stuff where it's like $5 off. Usually, it's usually $5. But what's $5 to peace of mind? To me, it's nothing. So don't buy stuff that's not on sale. And the reason is because a lot of VR games are short. Number one, very short. When Edge of Nowhere came out, mind you, I paid $60 for it. It was good. It was only about 4 hours long, though. But it was like the first, I won't even say AAA. I'll say AA experience that was out. And it was cool. It was a third-person game, kind of like Tomb Raider-ish. It was actually really cool. I really enjoyed it. Should have been $30, easy. But since VR is new, they're getting away with charging $60 for stuff.
They're charging so much for games.
Yeah, they're getting, but $60 is regular, but not for what you're getting. You know what I mean? Just because it's VR, they think they can charge whatever they want for it and people buy it, which is right now completely true. So read reviews, and the reason why I say read a lot of different reviews is because there's two different types of people. There are VR enthusiasts like myself, okay, who are able to have an objective opinion of whatever it is, whether you're a fan or not. And then there's VR junkies, okay? VR junkies are your fanboy, where if it's VR, it cannot be bad. You know what I mean? There's no way that it's bad. This is great. I don't care what it is. My favorite game is this. They even go as far as calling video games pancake games because it's not VR. Okay. I can't play pancake games anymore. But then you have an enthusiast who really enjoys this headset, but I'll tell you right now, nothing beats The Witcher 3. You know what I mean? Nothing will ever beat that game. So to get reviews from those different types of people is very hard to get something that's good. It's hard to get a good review. And a lot of people don't like, this goes back to the movement, is the teleportation. People are done with it. It was early on. That's what VR was. People want full locomotion now, where you just slide across because their stomach is used to it. So they think every game should have both options, which more options is better. But if somebody designs a game without it to be played a certain way, You don't get to dictate what their game is, and everybody's